Hello everyone and welcome to this live streaming on our YouTube channel from AxelTech. I'm Marco Branzanti. I'm CTO here in Axel Technology. Today we're going to talk about our Uplay production server. It's a very popular and very successful product. Actually, the idea was born many years ago. We noticed that many TV stations were actually using their channel-in-a-box automation system to play out their news and their stories, their jingles, their clips on their video mixer during live production, which is not, an automation product is not really the ideal product to do this. So what we did is we took out the multimedia engine from the automation software and we actually built a completely new tool which is much more, let's say, suited for the live production needs. So let's go and see the product. First of all, it's an application which runs under Windows. In this case, I have a Blackmagic Decklink card built into the system. In this case, I have a Decklink Duo. It has a lot of connectors, so I can use them as video inputs and video outputs. By the way, the Uplay product is compatible with other video cards as well, like Asia Card, Bluefish, DeckTech, Magwell, and many others. So the first thing that you can notice is that I have a GUI which is divided into 4 parts. Why? Because the Uplay production server is actually a multi-channel system. So in this case, I've configured my system to have 4 channels as 4 inputs I/O channels. So let's see how it works. It's really easy and really simple. So I'm going to go on my first channel. I'm going to clear out the playlist and I'm going to get just a file explorer window. I'm going to drag and drop directly on the GUI. And as you see, I'm actually creating a playlist in real time. So I just need to press the play button and I'm on air. A few words on format compatibility. Actually, the engine is codec agnostic, which means that you can actually virtually play out any file format. Not only the MPEG-1, MPEG-2, H.264, H.265, or AVI, Windows Media Video, but also the broadcast formats like XDCAM, MXF, P2 from Panasonic, DNX HD from Avid. When you set up the system, you actually decide the resolution that you want to use as an output. And we support SD to HD, of course, 2K, 4K, 8K. This actually depends a lot on the video card that you're using. So in this case, I'm using a Decklink Duo or a Decklink Quad. This would be limited to HD 3G. But if you use a Decklink 8K Pro, you could actually have or 4 channels of 4K 12G or 1 channel of 8K. Of course, if you choose 8K, it's going to be heavy on the CPU. This is why we support GPU acceleration. So if in the system you have an NVIDIA card, a GTX or a Quadro, we can use the GPU to do decoding and encoding directly, let's say, offloading the CPU, which is quite interesting. This works only for specific codecs like H.264 and H.265, which of course are your preferred codecs for this type of output. Okay, so once you choose your output format, actually the system automatically upscales and downscales the video. So you don't have to worry about putting mixed resolution onto the screen. And it also does automatic aspect ratio adaptation. So I just want to show you there's something really interesting. I'm going to stop and just put a clip here, which is like a cartoon. There it is, just to show you better. And so while I'm on air, I can actually change in real time the aspect ratio. So I'm going to tell the system that this is not a 16 by 9 and it's a 4 by 3. And as you see, I automatically rescaled it, and the system hand has inserted the letterbox on the left and on the right. So this is quite handy when you're live. You want to do this really, really fast. So of course, I told the system to preserve the aspect ratio. I can actually perform an aspect ratio full, so the system is going to zoom into the video clip and take out the letterbox. Let me go back, and the interesting thing is you can choose also intermediate levels. So actually I can zoom in a little bit or zoom out a little bit and actually choose the right amount of cropping that I want to apply onto the video. This is really, really handy during live productions. By the way, I just drag and drop some video, but Uplay is actually a multimedia player. So I can drag and drop a bitmap from a browser, from a folder. I can drag and drop just audio, for example, and the system will actually play it out, okay? So one important thing which I want to say is that we pay a lot of attention also to audio. In fact, when you configure the system for Playout, you can choose the number of audio channels to use, and we support all 16 audio channels embedded into the SDI. If the video clip has more channels than the one you selected, the system will automatically do down mixing and redistribute your audio channels on your output. One of the latest features that we built in is audio remapping, and that's really, really cool as well. So what you can do is you can actually choose how to remap your channels and have a sort of, let's say, you can personalize and customize your down mixing in order to choose that. That's kind of handy also if you have multiple languages embedded directly into the clip. Of course, audio volume control is also embedded inside, and the view meter is kind of nice. On the background, you see a light blue view meter. That will be the original audio level of your video clip, and the green levels will be actually the applied audio levels which are on air. And you have a master audio control, but also for each clip you actually have individual gain in order to let's say mix it better and control your audio levels as well. So let's see basic features of how you're going to use the system. Well, first of all, when you create a playlist and you add multiple clips to your Uplay, you can decide 3 typical ways of using it. So the playlist can be played from start to end. So simply the system will stop at the last clip, or you can play it one at a time. This is kind of handy when you're doing your news and you're pulling your stories through the video mixer. And so simply the system will stop at the end of each clip, and you just press the play button for the next clip, or we have a loop. Then, of course, if I'm playing start to end, you can actually decide for each single clip actually what type of behavior you want. So for each clip, you can actually decide whether not to stop, so simply the system will play out the next clip, stop at the end, stop at the last frame, and this is one of the nicest features of the Uplay. The nicest feature of the Uplay, that when you're playing out to your video mixer, the system has the ability to not go to black and stop at the last frame or at the first frame. Oh, by the way, if you have any questions, please do use your YouTube chat, and there's a bell icon on the top right of your web browser. You can use that. And we have Stefano Grego in Rome, which is actually sorting out the questions and displaying them on the prompter for me. So when you have some questions, please use the chat button. So I was telling you, this is kind of a cool option, which is the stop last frame. So this means that the system will not go to black, and it's very, very handy on your video mixer and allows you the chance to actually mix down to the camera without having the black at the end of the video clip. And of course, there's other features, advanced features like stop at the next first frame, or stop both at the first frame and the last frame. So in this way, you can actually compose a playlist into multiple segments. So play 3 clips and then stop, play another 2 clips and then stop, and so forth. We also have individual loop buttons on each clip, so whenever the playlist encounters a looped clip, it will stay on that loop forever. The Uplay system actually can be used not only to push your video clips, your stories through the video mixer, but you can use it actually as a background, a moving background generator, or just to display also some video clips on your video walls in the studio. So it actually can be used for multiple purposes. So for this reason, as you see, the GUI has actually 4 channels. Why? In a production environment, maybe you're going to use your first channel for your stories through your video mixer, a second channel maybe to display some video clips on the video wall, a third channel can be used eventually as a background generator in order to put your graphics on top, and maybe you can use also your 4th channel as a video capture device, an actually ingest recorder. Yes, because the Uplay machine is actually a bidirectional machine. We thought something like a new version of the old video recorders, which could go and play, but could actually capture. So there's actually a button on the GUI, which is called Recorder, and you can pass from, let's say, the play mode to the recorder mode. So in this case, I have a loop coming out from my video mixer. I'm actually capturing what's in the first channel. And as you see, we are codec agnostic for the play, but we have a lot of codecs and a lot of video formats available also in the capture. Just to say some of them, we have Apple ProRes, which is, I mean, so much appreciated by our Apple fans, AVC Intra, DNX HD, which is a AVID format, a lot of flavors for your DV. We have GXF, which is a Grass Valley format, IMX, which is Sony, QuickTime with all the codecs inside, MPEG-4, which is the very, very popular, MPEG-1, MPEG-2. We also have some XDCam and some Windows Media Video. A few notes on our MPEG-4. Well, actually, inside this system, I have an NVIDIA GTX. And just a second, sorry about that. I have an NVIDIA GTX. And I need to pull it up again. So if you want, you can use your NVIDIA GTX card and use the GPU acceleration on board to do your capture in MPEG-4 and H.264 and H.265. Let me restart the recording again. Yes, I have it. I want to show you. I'm actually selected an XDCam format. I'm going to record, so I'm capturing at the moment. And I can see that my system actually has the clip which is in capture mode. And the interesting thing is that I can drag and drop directly the captured clip onto a player and play out the clip which I am recording in this moment. And this is our play while rec feature. And the interesting thing is that I can actually put some mark points, so mark in and mark out my clip. What I'm doing is a non-intrusive segmentation, and I'm going to apply it. So now my segment has been defined, and I can drag and drop maybe on another Uplay instance and play it out maybe to my video wall. So as you see, it's very interactive, very fast, all is drag and drop, and it's actually a GUI which is well fitted for the the live production environment. We have a question from Mark from Mallorca. Is there the possibility to play by shortcuts on the keyboard? Yes, of course. So I want to just tell you that the main features of the system are quite simple and quite effective, but actually the application is packed with many small features which actually give the added value to the software. So we have a specific section for shortcuts in which automatically the clips are associated to your function buttons F1 and F2, and you can actually remap those to any button that you want, so you can actually use a specific keyboard. So pressing the F1 and the F2 and so forth, I just want to show you, so I'm going to go F2, and F2 will automatically go on air, and then I have an F3, and then I have an F4, so it's quite easy. On the GUI, you see the red border, which tells you that which clip is on air, and the green outline on the clip is telling me that the clip is queued. Queued means that it's actually in the PC RAM, in the PC memory, ready to go on air. So any queued clip will actually be very, very fast and go on air fast. So we don't keep all clips queued, but you do have this option, which is kind of nice, which means queue all clips. In this way, the system knows that it has to actually load all the clips, so all the clips are actually in memory. And this is very useful if you're doing like a quiz show, so you have your clips which you need very fast during the quiz show. So when everything is queued, the F buttons will be very fast, and you don't have to wait for the system to queue all the clips. So that's kind of interesting. Not only for each clip, you can actually define a specific custom shortcut. And for each clip, not only can you specify the shortcut, so let me do a Control F4. As you see, I associated the Control F4 keys to this video clip, but you can actually define the behavior. So will the custom shortcut play the clip, just cue the first frame, or perform a cue on a black frame? So I think I answered to that. Another option on the shortcut menu is we can use Gpi interfaces. So I can plug in, for example, a JL Cooper Gpi, which is a small box, a Moxa device. Moxa is a manufacturer of electrical equipment like GPIs and serial port controllers and others. So we support Moxa Gpi, so you can plug it into this device and actually associate a clip with the Gpi input. But we also support a very interesting device, which is the Novation, Ableton Novation keyboard. It's a very popular keyboard which is used with MIDI device for music and so forth, and you can actually map each button to a specific video clip and use that keyboard, which is not very expensive and very cool because it has backlit buttons, so that's also supported. And these are just few of the features actually that are included into the system. So I want to go on with some features, and actually one of the most important thing which is built into the Uplay is the fact that we support a very nice interface with the external video mixers. So usually what you want on a video mixer is kind of, let's say, put communication between the Uplay and the video mixer, so you can choose your video clip directly on the video mixer control panel, press the take button, and in some way trigger a play. Of course, there are many ways of doing this. One of the oldest way and let's say less complicated ways is using the Gpi interface. So in the old days, you would use the tally output of the video mixer connected to a GPI input of the Uplay, and it will trigger the play commands or also the stop commands. So there's a specific section for that. We call that the remote section. And of course, you see you have a play on GPI input or stop on GPI input, but it can be the other way around. So you could actually trigger a GPI from the Uplay to the video mixer in case the video mixer has a, let's say, a GPI on the take button. So that's kind of the less complicated way, let's say, the easy way of doing it. But we also have embedded protocols built in the Uplay machine. So of course, we support the ATEM, Blackmagic ATEM, we developed with Blackmagic cards, so of course we use a lot their ATEM video switchers. ATEM video switchers are controlled directly by an IP, so I want to show you, I actually have an ATEM mixer here, and there it is. So let's say I'm on air with my bars, so in this case, and I'm going to prepare a video clip. I'm going to take out the cue all, and I'm ready to play my Toy Story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable the video mixer button, and when I press the play button, the system will actually trigger the input selection on the ATEM control and actually pull it out. And when I press the stop button, the Uplay will not stop right away. It will trigger the effect on the ATEM, wait for the ATEM to finish the transition, and then stop the Uplay. So this is Uplay controlling the ATEM, and we can also do the same thing, of course, with GPI. I already told you that, which is kind of interesting, but we can also do it with TriCaster. So that's kind of the same type of control. But usually, it doesn't work really like that. It works the other way around. Usually what most directors prefer is to use the remote control panel of the video mixer, and from the remote control panel of the video mixer, when they press the take button, actually send the command back to the Uplay. Well, for the ATEM, we have a very, very interesting feature, which is hyperdeck emulation. So what does this mean? You can tell the Uplay to actually act as a hyperdeck. Hyperdeck is a Blackmagic device which is able to capture and play from a SSD drive. So it has a specific protocol. We emulate that protocol. So what does this mean? That from the control panel of the ATEM, you can actually go into the media player section, hyperdecks, and as you see, I have Uplay 1, which is ready, and I can actually see the video clips which are already loaded on my playlist. I can actually select the video clip and trigger the play button directly, and as you see, my system is actually going on air. And there's a specific way to configure your ATEM in order for the system to also do automatic switching. So when you press the play button, it will actually take the correct input, and it has this very interesting parameter which they call offset here. This tells you that the system is working correctly. It actually will trigger the play on the Uplay server and then wait for a specific number of frames before putting that on air, so you don't see the small pause and that can go on air, the small freeze or the frames that could go on air, which is the time necessary for the video server to actually start the play. So I think I answered to Thomas from Slovakia, which was asking, can I cue somehow the playback from a Blackmagic switcher? Yes, this is the way. So using hyperdeck emulation. So how do you, of course, what happens is in the configuration of the hyperdeck, you have to specify a specific IP address. And of course, I have 4 instances on the same computer. So I actually am using only one IP address on the Uplay server. So how do you go about that? Well, there's a way of doing it. simply you can add multiple IPs to the network card of the Uplay server. So maybe I'm using here IP with the last number 242, so I can do 242, 243, 244, and 245, and set those IP on my network card. And when you go into each instance of the Uplay machine, what you do is you just specify the IP address to which the specific Uplay instance must answer. So you can define in a Blackmagic ATEM up to 4 remote controls, and all 4 of them can actually be remote controlled from the Uplay. Of course, you can do manual control, so I didn't tell you this. The Uplay machine also supports slow motion, so I can do that from the GUI. So I'm playing backwards, I'm playing forward, and so forth, which is always kind of interesting. And I can do the same remote control directly from the GUI of the video mixer. This is not really the way you would use a slow-mo controller. But the nice thing is that we also support some external hardware devices from the remote section. Let me see, controller, here we are. So you can actually use JL Cooper slow-mo controller, which is usually it has a LAN connector, so TCP/IP controlled. That is kind of expensive, but we also support the normal RS422 protocol, which is Sony protocol. And I want to show you this little device which I have over here. This is called the Slow-Mo Mini. It's also made from JL Cooper. It has 4 serial port RS422 on the back, so you can connect this to the Uplay server and actually decide which channel you want to use through the ABCD buttons, and actually use the jog and shuttle and the T-bar to do your slow-mo control events. And this is not expensive. It's quite nice, and it integrates very, very well with the Uplay server. So let me see. Kevin from UK, can I use the Uplay on a dual screen system or a 32:9 display? Okay, this is kind of interesting. Actually, I would say not at the moment, but yes. Well, this is one of the features which we actually developed and some time ago, and we are, let's say, bettering the development with new features. I'll explain. You can actually join 2 instances of or 4 instances of the Uplay channels in order to do a synchronized playout. So for example, if I go into remote, I can add instances and tell that the system that Uplay 1 should control Uplay 2, 3, and 4. So whenever I press a play button, immediately the play will actually be sent also to the other channels. So this allowed us to do a specific application for TV stations which had 4 HD monitors, and they had like a 32:18 display, let's see, something like that. And so they would render specific quarters of the video to each player and actually play out as if it was a single system. So, of course, this is a workaround, and it obliges you to render the single files as sections or portions of your bigger, let's say, complete file. So what we did, and we are working it right now, I think I have it here, it's called Mosaic Function, so it's still in beta version, but it will allow you to actually define output resolution, which is a combination of the SDI connectors. So yes, with this feature, we will be able to play out in 32:9, for example, using 2 SDI connectors, each of which is SDI, and you will be able to position your video screens and your video monitors according to how you want to play them out. And then simply with a big file and a specially rendered file, you will be able to do this. we are working on it, and I think in about a month it will be available as a feature directly inside the Uplay machine. So let's go on with some other cool features that we have. I just want to show you, let's talk about, for example, the audio preview. So if you have an audio output on your audio card, you can actually enable the preview of the audio on each of the channels and listen to that. Let's see, and the capture machine. Let's talk about capture. I'm still capturing. I'm going to stop the capture now, okay? You have a scheduler, and that's kind of interesting. You can schedule your recordings according to a specific date and time. You can tell the system where exactly in which folders you want to capture, and define a specific syntax based on date and time or other keywords in order for the system to keep your recordings nice and tidy inside your folder. Not only there's a IP encoder built in, so whatever comes into the video input of the capture sections, you can stream it out, and this is our streaming engine. Okay, let me pull it out from here. Let me see if I have it. Just a second. No, I think this is a beta version, so I'm having some issues with my streaming. Sorry about that. I'm just going to pull it up very fast. Okay. Yeah, but you can stream in RTMP and UDP and other streaming formats. Oh, I haven't told you that the system is completely compatible with NDI, so I do have the possibility of using NDI both as an input and as an output. What else? Oh, in the playlist, this is a very new feature. I can actually insert not only clips, but also URLs. So I can type in a RTMP, which I have over here, let the system render it, and as soon as it's ready, it's cached from the internet. Here it is. It's not ready. Sorry about that. Let me do it again. URL. Maybe I have internet issues. Oh, there it is. Okay. No, I don't have it. Anyway. Okay. So what else? I can put NDI input. I think I have an NDI someplace here. Let me show you this. Here I have it. Yes, I have an NDI list. So I'm putting the NDI in. It's actually a loop back from another channel. Here it is, and I can play it out, and I have an NDI loop through, which is coming in. Very good. What else? Oh, I have the possibility of actually also adding a CG layer on top of the video screen. What does this mean? Each instance can have its layer of CG. So while I'm playing out, I'm going to enable a CG right now. I'm going to browse for a CG project. Let's get this one over here. And is it chosen? Yes, it is. And I'm going to actually, oops, sorry about that. I misclicked. Here it is. Okay. And I'm going to play and add the CG layer just on top of that. Let's see if it's able to render. It should come out in a couple of seconds. Will it? Maybe I need to select it again. There I have it. CG, please. I don't see it. It's coming out. Oh, I'm not sure why it's not doing that. Just a second. Clear CG. Reselect. There it is. And I hope it will come out. Oh, it's not coming out. Sorry about that. Anyway, I am able to put some CG layer on top and actually use the CG inside the Uplay machine. So let's see what other features I can talk to you about. Oh, yes, of course. We have MOS integration. So what does this mean? MOS is a protocol which is used in newsroom environments in order to connect the use server with the newsroom automation. So the playlist is done in the newsroom, and actually the MOS protocol is used in order to pull up the exact sequence of video clips which are used in the news rundown. So MOS protocol is inserted inside. We have tested and used the system into popular newsroom automation, which is called Octopus, and the parameters are there, so you can use one or multiple instances of Uplay directly into the newsroom environment. Couple of more things. We have APIs built in. So this means that, which are REST APIs. Let's see if we can see the protocol. There it is. There's a lot of commands built into the system that you can use. So if you want to customize an application or actually use the Uplay server and remote control it directly from your own application, you can use the APIs. One interesting thing is Snmp. This is also built in. Snmp is Simple Network Management Protocol. It's used as a monitoring system in order to monitor the health of the video server. This is a typical protocol which is used in most IT equipment, and simply you can connect your monitoring software to actually ask the Uplay server about its health and about the video characteristics which are inside, so you can actually see if there's video being output, if it's freezed, if you have audio in the input, and if the system is functioning correctly. This is quite handy if you're doing 24/7 operations, or if you're using the system as an automatic ingest system, you can monitor if the system is actually working correctly. Let's see. Has Uplay a client application facility to control it over the LAN? Let's say that the GUI is actually built in down to the Windows environment. So if you want to remote control it, we support and we like to use Microsoft Remote Desktop. And actually the application is optimized to use the RDP application. In fact, as far as the preview windows are concerned, which is kind of sometimes heavy on the network transport, you can actually define the frame rate of the preview in order to, let's say, do not use a full rate, but you can have a half rate or a third of the rate, which is actually the default. And this allows you to use it quite fast and handy with Microsoft RDP. There is a GUI, a web GUI for the capture application. So if you're using the Uplay to capture, you can use the web GUI to start and stop your capture, and you get a preview and so forth. So you do have, let's say, remote control possibility. There's not a web application yet for the player section because it has a lot of features, and the web GUI will not give you all the added value, but we are thinking about it. One thing we added just lately, which is kind of interesting, are transition effects. So in the playlist, you can actually define transitions between video clips, and there's a lot of different type of effects, and you can actually customize them. So I'm putting, let's see, let's go with checkerboard, which is always kind of nice. So I have put a transition between the first and the second clip, so whenever I press the next button, the system will actually do the checkerboard transition between the two video clips, and this is kind of handy. While performing the transition, also the audio will be faded, so that's kind of a nice option. What else I can tell you? Time code. We support time code with the system. While you are playing out, of course, on the SDI, you will get a time code output. If you put a video clip which has time code, you can use the time code display instead of the file code display in order to monitor that. Especially in the recorder section, we have the possibility of choosing which time code format we want to use. So let's go in capture and see the options. As you see, I have a lot. You can use RP188, which means that the time code is actually being it's read directly from the SDI input. You can use local time, so it will use the clock of the PC and capture that time code to the file. Or you can use, and this is very interesting, the audio card built into the server as a longitudinal time code input device. So what you do is you feed your time code, which can be balanced or unbalanced according to the audio card which you have, and the system will actually read the LTC directly from the audio card. This is a really, really cool option for who needs that. Some things on the capture, which is interesting. We support closed caption and vertical ancillary data capture. This is interesting for the markets which are use the closed captions. Some things on the capture. While you are capturing, you can define actually a backup path for the capture, so you can do two simultaneous captures into two separate paths, and this is kind of nice as a backup. So you can record on local disk and simultaneously record on a network LAN directly, for example, on a network share, in order to be sure that you don't lose that capture if you have a malfunction on your storage devices. So redundancy is quite interesting. The other thing, we also support multiple compression. So this is usually used as you can define, let's say, a primary format for your capture, but you can also define a secondary format, and this is usually used as a proxy file. So you can have a lower quality capture or while you are capturing your high quality file. It's not necessarily needs to be lower quality. You could capture to XDCAM and DNX HD at the same time, for example, but usually it's used for a lower quality capture. We also have batch capture, and this is used if you have an old VCR with tapes and you need to batch capture from them. We support remote control of the VCRs as well. So as you see, there's a lot of, let's say, extra options, and these are just a few of them. Last one I want to tell you about is IP, audio over IP compatibility. So maybe you have your SDIs which are connected directly to your video mixer, or you have your NDI going to your TriCaster machines, for example, but what about the audio? Well, usually you would need to use an external box or something, a glue of some sort, in order to de-embed the audio and send it to your production audio mixer. The interesting thing is if you have an audio mixer which supports audio over IP, you can install the Windows driver of the IP format that you're using, and in the Playout section you can use the extra audio output. What does this mean? That not only the audio will be sent through NDI and SDI in embedded format, but you can actually send to a second device, and it can be the audio over IP. We've done great integration with Dante, so simply install the Dante DVS driver on the system, choose which Dante channels to send it to, and on your Yamaha console, which has the Dante option, you receive that audio, and you don't need to invest and spend the extra money on external de-embedders or other sort of devices. Not only do we have this option on the output, which is of course handy, but also on the capture. On the capture, you can actually define up to 16 additional audio channels, and you can get those from Dante, of course. And so this means we have some customers which are using it for multi-track ingest. So they're actually sending multiple audio track directly to the Uplay capture. Let's see, I have another question. Has Uplay an external key fill input facility for external CG event play with Uplay? Let's see if I kind of understood the question. Well, in the Playout, what we do have is an external key option, and that's kind of very interesting. Why? Well, you can hook up your Uplay with the two connectors which go to your video mixer, and the two connectors will actually give you SDI, fill, and key. So this means that onto the Uplay playlist, you can put files which have embedded alpha channel, which have transparencies, and these will be played out to the video mixer. You see that a lot during live shows, at the beginning and at the end of the live show when they play their bumpers. You would see some CG or some moving video on the screen, and in the background you will see the live cameras. That type of effect is done with key and field, so it's a downstream key. And usually in old video mixer you would need to actually load the animation directly onto the memory of the video mixer with limitations on formats and on duration of the video clip, and of course audio. It wouldn't play your audio out. In this case, you can do this scenario, and file formats which we support are actually, or better, we support all file formats. The file formats which are available to the industry, which gives you alpha channel embedded inside, there are not many. Of course, you can use one of the nicest, which we like, is QuickTime Animation. You can use Apple ProRes 4444, which is a little heavy, but it does give you this possibility. But not only, we support animations of bitmaps. So if you have, or better, a sequence of bitmaps. So if you have a folder and inside you rendered your PNG, TGA, TIFF files as sequence, you just select the first file and the system will play it out as an animation with key and fill. And in this case, what you can do is you can associate an external audio file. We have a specific command for that, which is called link audio file. So this means that together with your bitmap sequence, you will get the playout of also the audio, and you can sync your bumper with audio as well. Christian from Germany, it is possible to capture an HTTPS stream like YouTube. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Yes, we can. There is a feature which is add URL. The add URL allows you to actually decode IP streams coming from the internet, and the protocols which we support are UDP, RTMP, RTSP, HTTP, FTP. The protocols which we support are the same protocols which are supported by VLC, which is a very popular application which is known for file format compatibility and for stream format compatibility. Why is it like VLC? We use the same multimedia engine on the background, which is called FFmpeg, which has these incredible qualities of being codec agnostic. So the rule would be, if VLC can play your stream, we can also play it. Now to the question about YouTube. Well, not all YouTube streams are made the same. It really depends on, let's say, the file format which YouTube has captured or recorded that specific stream. So as far as I know, there are many YouTube, let's say, media which you can stream through VLC, so also through Uplay, but there are others which are not, also because YouTube lately changed some formats and is streaming the video and the audio separately on a custom format that they are using, so that's why maybe you will receive only the video. You just have to try it out. But if it works in VLC, it will most probably work also on Uplay. Okay, what else? Let's see. Some other features that we have built inside are the possibility, yes, this is what I want to show you. We have a application, which is MAM, a Media Asset Management System, and it's called XMAM. I'm not going to demonstrate the software at the moment, but I just want to show the integration between the MAM system and the Uplay machine. So our MAM is based on a web browser, so the GUI is actually presented directly here on Chrome. I'm logging into the MAM, and into the MAM what I can see are a bunch of resources which I have inside. As you see, we have an icon, which is this one over here, the small one with the Uplay icon. And the interesting thing is that once I select a video and I want to play it out directly from my MAM, I just drag and drop directly the icon from the web browser and I can play it out. And this was done for a TV station which was on air with a very famous sport production program, and they had a lot of historical video clips, and they were all in the MAM, and they needed the possibility for the director, when a specific player was mentioned or a specific game was mentioned, to actually very fast pull it up and show it on the video wall or show it on air. So here you just do your searches directly in the MAM. So I'm looking for test. Oh, is this the video clip I want to put on air? Yes, just drag and drop, pull it onto your Uplay machine, press the play button, and you're on air. So faster than that, it's almost virtually impossible. And the other thing is you can use our MAM to actually create the playlists, rundowns, and you can do this from any computer connected to the LAN, connected to the internet, from the office. And then the technician in master control, what he can do is just drag and drop the playlist onto a Uplay, and he will find the rundown, which is, let's say, ready to go on air. So very nice, easy, and simple integration between our multimedia asset management software and the Uplay machine. Okay, so let's see, Uplay versions. We have a lot of different versions of the Uplay software, and I think I have a JPEG image here, which I actually pulled down from the internet just to show you the different version. There it is, okay. So let's talk about these versions. We have Uplay Free. Yes, there's actually a free version, and the free version can actually be used. It has some limitation, of course. Just go on our website, go on the Uplay page, download that free version, install it. It will work with Blackmagic Card, Azure Cards, DeckTech, etc., and it will allow you one channel of a Uplay. It won't allow cool things like mark in and mark out, integration with the HyperDeck or with the ATEM, etc. But just to play out a playlist of files in multi-format mode, it will actually work. And there's a lot of TV stations which are using the Uplay Free just to play it out to the video wall, for example. And then the Uplay Free has some nags which come up, which are just message boxes with some advertisement, not on air, on the GUI of the computer. So the Uplay Pro is the same version without the nags, so it's our simplest version with less features. So it has basic graphics, it works only on one channel, does not have mark in and mark out. And then we have the next version, which is the Uplay Broadcast. And the Uplay Broadcast is actually the play GUI, so it actually will have a player option. It can be multi-channel, and it has all the options included. These are available not only as a software-only version, you can install it on your own computer. These are available also as, let's say, turnkey units, so we can supply the hardware to you, okay? And then, of course, we go to the Uplay Compact, which is a turnkey unit with the software already made. It's a one-rack unit device, and it can go from 1 channel to 4 channels. And then the last one is the version which we call server. So the difference between the server version and the broadcast version, which are the 2 top versions, is the server also has capture possibility. So you play broadcast only play, you play server, play and capture. And you can also go up to 4 channels on a single unit, and we can supply to you the turnkey unit. Okay, very nice. So I think we're done for today. We talked about the Uplay application. If you need any information or want to contact us, just write to info@axeltechnology.com. We'll be happy to reply. My name is Marco. I'm from AxelTech. Thank you very much for following this YouTube live session.